Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Monday edition of Winners and Winers Radio. I am your host, Scott Steehn. I am the lead handicapper at winnersandwiners.com.
And I'm your co-host, Scott Reichel, senior handicapper over at winnersandwiners.com.
Scotty, good to see you're still here. I know you're up on Long Island. You guys got the big brunt of Hurricane Henri today. How did that, or yesterday, rather. How did that go for you on Sunday? Did you still there? You still okay?
Fine. I went to a wedding.
Okay, great. You know, you gave the best response because I was asking you, talking to you Friday night about if you're worried about the hurricane, keeping an eye on it. And what was the response you gave me? You remember?
Somebody scheduled a wedding on Friday. I don't even remember.
No, you said, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to be inside.
Oh, yeah. That's the answer I was looking for, yeah. That's
See, that's nothing sums up the difference between you and I's generation more than that. You're the younger generation. You're like, I'm not worried about a hurricane. I'm the old man generation. I worry about the weather every day. Oh, somebody's got weather where they live. I want to talk about that. So, well, congratulations on avoiding probably the most feminine male-sounding hurricane of all time. You wouldn't want to be wiped out by Henri, would you, Scott?
If you want to know a secret, I didn't even know what the hurricane's name was.
You didn't even know its name?
No idea.
Jesus. All right. Good enough. Well, it is good to be with you guys, starting off another week of fun and excitement here on the show. Of course, we want to remind you that you are listening to Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour. Why will we give you? Well, we will give you the winners. That's the deal each and every day. And we're going to do that. We're going to have a couple of fun segments. We're going to talk a little NFL. We're going to talk some ACC, college football, and of course, somebody's sizzling hot on their Bet the Farm. We are loading up on the farms, guys. We're going to have to hire some extra field hands, and we will have our latest and greatest Bet the Farm play here a little bit later in the show. So, Scott, since you weren't worried about the hurricane, you said you went to a wedding?
I did end up going to a wedding. Yeah.
You go to a wedding like every other weekend. What's up with that?
It's actually weird because it was a group of siblings that got married within the span of about a month of each other.
Is that right?
Literally a brother and a sister.
To each other?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm thinking Arkansas. So on Long Island, they marry other people. That is good to know. Are they Long Islanders?
No, they're actually based in Jersey. I have a pretty funny story quickly to go through in the wedding.
Oh, sure.
So my grandmother noticed that a lot of some of the younger people in our family are getting married, and then there's just me sitting over there. So
Right.
She asked me if I, socialized and if I saw any women that perhaps piqued my interest during the wedding. And I gave her a response that she was not prepared for. I told her I was too busy trying to find a guy for you, and I found somebody, and I immediately grabbed my grandfather and dragged him into the conversation.
Nice.
So, I basically just reintroduced her to her husband, and then I left.
So you dodged the bullet there.
Something like that. I made a really bad joke, and I walked out.
Were there any eligible young ladies there?
There were, but, these games aren't going to handicap themselves.
Younger generation. I weep for the younger generation.
You should really be flattered. I'm taking so much attention to the craft. Yeah.
It certainly shows, Scott. So, well, congratulations. You got plenty of time. You got plenty of time to find that special somebody. So, you just might want to a little variety, bud. That's all I'm saying. Just spice up the life a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Gonna get yourself back. You get your Tinder account still active?
I got a couple of things active. I cannot say I've been using them that frequently or as much as I should, but yeah, I still got them active.
Okay. All right. You doing some swiping?
A little bit. I'm not totally helpless. I just appeared that way on YouTube.
Are you way too picky?
A little bit.
What's your percentage of swiping right to swiping left?
Ooh.
If a female's picture pops up, what are the odds on you swiping right? 9 to 1?
At least swiping no on 90% plus.
So she's plus 900 to make the cut,
give or take.
Okay, what's the deal? What's a deal breaker for you?
A deal breaker?
Yeah, what's a deal breaker? You see it on her description. You're like, oh no, not a chance.
Anybody that either mentions astrology signs or I like to go on adventures. We all like to go on adventures. That doesn't mean anything.
Oh, you're the one that likes to go on adventures.
Oh, you like to travel. So do I. Like, everybody likes to travel. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a different definition of adventures. Some people adventures, it's going antiquing in Waukegan or what's the town in Jersey there I'm trying to think of.
I don't even know where you're going with this.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So
there's 5 words that scare me when it comes to a dating profile. Let's go on a hike.
Okay. You're not a hiker?
Not my cup of tea. I don't like walking.
It's the longest hike you've ever been on.
I did a 5K once, but that doesn't count as a hike.
A 5K?
Yeah.
3 miles?
Yeah, that doesn't even count as a hike, but that's the longest walking I've done. Not to mention like going to a destination.
You didn't do Boy Scouts or anything? Like
no.
20-mile hikes?
I tell you, me not though. But no, I never went to Boy Scouts.
All right, fair enough. All right, guys. Well, before I just reach through and strangle him, I weep for the youth. I really do. But let's get rolling. Let's find out, besides Scott, who had a bad weekend. Let's find out some of the bettors that thought they had a game won. Oh, my God. I think I'm going to be on every one of these, Scott. Who took it in the shorts today? Who didn't do well? And not just yesterday, but we got the whole weekend to choose from. It was hard to pick them out. But I think we did it. Scott, let's get ready. Fire up the siren. We're going to see who we have to call the cops on. All right, let's get rolling as we so often do in what? No, not the major leagues. How about that? Scott, this is a game that I happen to have, as my premium clients well know. We had the Pittsburgh Steelers -6.5 on Saturday night, taking on the hapless Lions. Well, it certainly got off to the start that we wanted it to. They led 23-0 after 3 quarters. The Lions, well, somebody woke them up. The Lion did not sleep tonight, Scott. They came out and scored a touchdown first play of the fourth quarter, went for 2. Of course, they're the Lions, so they didn't get it. Pittsburgh came back. They righted the ship. They kicked a field goal, 26-6 with 4 minutes left. You think we're golden. Lions are able to get down there and score a TB. Okay, we're fine. It's the preseason. We're not going to certainly they wouldn't Yep, there it is. Onside kick. Lions recover. Lions go down and score a touchdown, including converting on a third down play for 31 yards down to the 3-yard line. Steelers win 26-20. And that matters not because you had the Steelers -6.5. You had a loser. And believe me, I had my phone out dialing furiously and calling the cops.
And we're going to look at a couple of baseball games on Sunday. If you had the Mets and Dodgers under 8.5, you were in good shape. Mets led 5-2 after 8, top of the 9th. Pop-up, single, hit by pitch, walk. Now, if we're keeping track, the bases were loaded. And then a fielder's choice. So you had 2 more runs scored on 1 hit, no errors, and that sends the game over the total. Game ended 7-2.
That's just a brutal way to win. The only thing I'm surprised about there, Scott, I wasn't on that because 1 hit scoring 2 runs without an error, that's very, very difficult to do. And only 1 walk.
And Jansen wasn't even pitching.
And Jansen that's the first thing I looked up, but nope, wasn't Jansen. All right, so if you had the Mariners-Astros under 8.5, this one was even more brutal. Astros led 2-1 in the 9th inning. Scott, in any other baseball year before this one, well, and last year, this would have been an absolute guarantee to hit the under. But nope, not in 2020 and not in 2021. The Mariners tied it up 2-2, 4 runs going into the 11th. Nobody scored in the 10th, of course. Mariners scored 4 runs in the top of the 11th, but you're still not there, Scott. You're still only at 8. You're hanging on by your fingernails. Just 3 outs from the Astros before they scored. Nope. Astros put up that 1 needless run, and if you hear a phrase from us more than any other thing, it's going to be needless run. They absolutely did it. They were down 6-2. Now they're down 6-3. Woohoo! Game ends at 9. Scott, if you had the under 8.5 there, another brutal beat.
Not a fun time there.
No, not at all. Now, there was some good news, Scott. These are the people that had those nice, easy victories. They had the game handicapped correctly. Everything went exactly the way they drew it up. Nothing could be finer than to be sitting in the rocket chair.
So the first one was in a matchup between the Royals and the Cubs, and it was kind of the Royals throughout the entire weekend, but we'll focus on Sunday. Kansas City, if you had them against the Cubs, smart pick. They scored 1 in the top of the second, 2 in the third, 2 in the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Yep.
And then the Royals only gave up 1 run, so you won 9-1.
Oof, we had the under there, Scott.
Just not fun.
If you'd have told me before I made that bet, so the Cubs are going to score 1, how do you like the under 9? I would have said I like it a lot, man. We beat the line move. It ended up going off at 8. I love that play. Just didn't work out. So if you had the Indians on the money line, they led 2-0 over the Angels after 1 inning, 3-0 after 4, and that was all she wrote. Didn't sound like much of a blowout, but the Angels, they did absolutely nothing because that game ended at 3-0. And if you had the Indians on the money line, you were cruising to a nice, easy rocket chair win.
And the last one was a matchup between the Marlins and the Reds, under 8.5. First of all, why? You have Alcantara on the mound and the Marlins offense, 8.5, way too high. Anyway, you had 3 runs going into the 6th inning. Then you had 1 run in the 8th inning, and that was it. So the game ended 3-1 Reds. 8.5 total on an Alcantara game? Really?
Is that pretty much, if you see one of the big 3 or even the big 4 with Thompson pitching pretty well lately, you see one of those guys going and it's 8.5 in a Marlins game, is that just an automatic under?
I think you have to consider it. I mean, the reason why it was 8.5 was obviously because it's in Great American Ballpark. We know Cincinnati likes to score, but we know the Marlins can't hit, and we know that Alcantara's very good. So that total could have been 7.5. Hell, it could have been 4.5. Still would have went under.
Yep, absolutely true. All right, Scott. Well, let's find out who's going to wear the golden feed bag today. And this one is certainly well-deserved. My goodness, it was – I thought about making the fighting fans. Have you seen this the fan fight, Scott? This one was at Pittsburgh.
There's a lot of them going on all the time. You mean the one where the woman slapped the guy in the face and then her man got absolutely knocked unconscious?
Yeah, he did. He certainly did. He blanked around, and then he stuck around for the finding out portion of the show, and it didn't go well. But this is not that one, Scott. This is fans that perhaps behaved even worse. It is in we got to do it. I forgot. It's Monday, Scott. I'm a little rusty here. Let's find out, Scott, who it is that's donkey of the day. All right, you know what? I'll let you do, since you've got the pronunciation down. I've already butchered Henri, so you're going to do the French thing here. So take it, Scott.
So we're going to be looking at a group of fans in French League soccer.
Oh,
we're going to be looking at the fans, of Nice in the Ligue 1 or the Ligue 1 soccer match between Nice and Marseille. And in the second half, Nice was up 1-0. And Marseille had either a corner kick or they had the ball that was in the offensive zone. And a water bottle was thrown by one of the Nice fans, and it proceeded to hit one of the Marseille players in the head. The Marseille player responded by throwing the water bottle back into the crowd. And then you had a full-on Malice at the Palace French edition because fans stormed the field and you had a bit of a brawl on your hands. Now, in addition to the fans being stupid for just throwing any object at an actual player, which of course was a topic of conversation during the NBA season for about, a week or so during the NBA playoffs. In addition to that, they ended up suspending play, and Marseille went to the locker room because they had to try to restore order with the fans.
Reasonable. They had to clean the field. It was just littered with water bottles and
trash.
That
too. They had the Nice president speak to the fans, tell them calm down, don't do this, whatever. So they tried to resume play in about 15 to 20 minutes because they felt like that was enough time to restore order. Nice came back out, and Marseille did not. And Marseille said straight up,
had about enough of it.
Yeah, they said it's not safe. I'm not coming back out there. And the league said, great, you forfeit. And Nice won. So the Nice fans pelted the player, hit the player on the other team in the head, and then you force that team to forfeit. If I'm Marseille, I wouldn't want to come back out either.
Not a bit. Not a bit. Of course not. I don't. This is one of the worst things I've heard as far as rewarding bad behavior goes. That's just absolutely ridiculous. That the team that perpetrated the bad behavior, that caused the problem, that's the team that gets rewarded with the victory.
Now, I'm not really sure what else you can do besides either A, continue on another date with no fans, B, I mean, you can't give them a red card for fan conduct.
You call it a forfeit. Nice loses. Your fans are nuts. Control them next time. Game over. We're going home.
That's fair. But the point is, it's kind of a double donkey of the day because you have the Nice fans, and then you also have the powers that be to reward Nice with a forfeit victory after Marseille's players got assaulted by the fans.
The league officials.
Awful.
Not a fan. Not a fan. Double donkey of the day for the Nice fans and for the league officials. Not good at all. Hey, quick reminder to you guys that we are the one and only Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour and we'll give you the winners. Scott, did you have any cocktails at the wedding? I
had, what was it, 6 screwdrivers?
6 screwdrivers?
Yeah, I had 6 screwdrivers.
Outstanding. Is that your drink?
It's usually available at every wedding bar. But
you care about the quality of the vodka?
It was Grey Goose.
Oh, was it really?
It was Grey Goose.
Open bar?
Yep.
Open bar Grey Goose?
At a Jewish wedding? You think I was going to pay for 6 screwdrivers? Come on.
I wasn't going to say that.
I did. I'm Jewish. I can say these things. Isn't that a Seinfeld bit?
Fair. Yeah, that's absolutely right. I'm not offended as a Jew. I'm offended as a comic.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan Cranston telling all the Jewish jokes as the dentist. All right, let's find out who the drunk odds makers were today, Scott. Shall we? We got a pretty good one here. But every day there's lines that make no sense. There's things that happen in the world of sports betting that makes you go And this is absolutely one of those days. Hey man, were the odds makers drunk or what? Man, that is just a bad ending to that bottle right there, Scott. So we had a Jets-Packers preseason game on Saturday. Total of 31, Scott. 31. Now, it wasn't without reason. Can you tell us what the reason was?
So, of course, Aaron Rodgers was not going to play because it's preseason. However, Jordan Love, his soon-to-be replacement, was also injured. So he was not going to play, which means that Green Bay was going to give basically all of the snaps to their third-string quarterback, and I'm sure a lot of people don't even know who that is. So that's a big reason why we saw the total drop. Plus, preseasons have been going under a lot up to this point, so that's why. But 31 seemed to be a little bit too low. You want to continue the rest of that story?
Well, yeah, funny story. It wasn't. It wasn't low at all. Teams put up 31 points, Scott. Oh, wait. In the first half, Benkert was actually pretty good. And how the Jets quarterbacks look?
Zach Wilson was fantastic. He went 9 for 11 with 2 touchdowns.
Unbelievable. Is he the answer, Scott?
He's the answer for preseason.
Is he going to be another 4A player?
I think he looked good. I said in the first preseason game, he got the ball out of his hands quickly, and Green Bay wasn't exactly trying to throw the kitchen sink at him. So a lot of zone coverages, a lot of open guys, and I thought he looked pretty good.
All right, very good. By the way, Benkert, do you know where he went to school?
Virginia.
Absolutely correct. He was a Virginia Cavalier. So the game, it ended up on 37. So if you're taking some halftime plays there, all of a sudden it's 31 in the second half. So you're probably getting, 43 and a half, 44, something like that for the full game total. And I'm sure people are loading up there like, oh, this Benkert kid, he's killer. They went out and scored 6 points in the second half. So I imagine some bettors got absolutely roasted in that game. But the odds makers, 31, come on, you're drunk.
I think any football game minimum, regardless of quarterback play, should not have a total lower than the average triple option battle between like Army and Navy.
Right.
Put it at 34 minimum and just call it a day.
Georgia Tech Duke game.
Do you agree? Like 34, 33 should be a minimum for a preseason total?
Yes, I agree. But, if they want to make it 31, I'm going to load up on the over. That's the way that's going to work.
Yep.
All right, Scott, I'm getting a little nervous here about our predictions because Big Ben first game in Matt Canada's new system there, and he looked pretty good, Scott. Went for 8 for 10, 137 yards, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions, a perfect quarterback rating. Was that 158.3? Is that correct?
Yes, that's the perfect passer rating.
There you go. That's what Big Ben had. So, Scott, you getting nervous? Are we having second thoughts about our doom and gloom prediction for the boys from Steeltown?
I mean, they're clearly going to the Super Bowl because they beat the Lions in preseason, right?
Premature panic time, everybody.
I mean, at the end of the day, he looked good, but you do wonder how much the Lions either defensively were showing much when it comes to their pressures, to their actual coverages. Plus, even if Detroit was showing everything, weren't they one of the worst defenses in the league last season?
They were, Scott.
And the issue that we had wasn't fully about Big Ben either A, being totally cooked, but we're also concerned about him staying healthy with an additional game in the schedule. So he played what, a quarter and a half?
Yep, that's about what he played.
Can we wait till he's 5 games through without the nagging leg injury before we start panicking?
Okay, fair enough. So it wasn't a great game for the Lions. I guess you could say the Lions slept that night.
They did for the first 3 quarters, but then they woke up for the 4th, but we already talked about that.
Okay, very good. So we had a game Saturday night between the Rams and the Raiders, Scott. Kind of an interesting development for the Rams. No punters. Johnny Hecker and whoever not Johnny Hecker is, the other punter, both had the COVID. So they had no punters. And if this is going to be a regular season thing, and it certainly could be because with the COVID rules, these guys are going to be in close proximity to each other. You're going to have a quarterback's room. You got a receiver's room. So, I mean, it has the potential to wipe out an entire position for teams, Scott. So what adjustments as a handicapper in the COVID era are we going to have to be on our toes about? What kind of things are we going to have to look for? And what kind of adjustments are we going to have to make?
Well, first of all, I'm still confused. Is there a separate kicker room?
What's that?
Is there a separate kicker room? Why was Gay able to play, but the punters weren't able to?
See, I don't understand that. I thought it would probably get the deep snapper and also the holder.
Yeah.
And the place kicker. I mean, obviously the punters are the holders. The place kicker is what I meant. So, yeah, I was confused as far as why those two guys weren't included as well.
And I know that Gay ended up doing the punting duties as well, so
okay.
I was kind of curious why that worked itself out.
Had a 50-yarder.
Yes, he did.
He was okay. You know, not much hang time. I kept expecting one of those to come back because it was kind of on a rope. But he did okay. So, what kind of things do you think that's going to be something that we see in the regular season? Are we going to see all of a sudden a team that doesn't have a place kicker, doesn't have their punter, doesn't have their deep snapper? Those are one of those things you don't even think about them until they're not there.
And it happened a couple of times last year. I mean, people will forget about this game, but when the Jets kind of butchered the potential number 1 overall pick, they ended up beating the Browns in one of the final games of the regular season. And the Browns were missing their top, 4 receivers for that game?
Right.
I mean, people don't remember that game because Cleveland made the playoffs anyway. The Jets were terrible, and they got the 2 pick anyway. But it happened in the regular season. I'm not just including the random regular season games where you had to move games middle of the week because Baltimore's team had COVID or the Steelers had issues or Tennessee had issues.
And then I don't know who Denver pissed off in the NFL office, but they're moving all these other teams, all these other games around. The Broncos are like, hey, we got no quarterbacks. NFL's like, well, that's a shame. Tough story. Anyway.
You need the Wake Forest wide receiver to play
exactly.
Quarterback for you.
Exactly. The guy from the practice squad.
What was it, Hinkle? Was it Hinkle?
You're a better man than I am, Scott. That is a one and done for me. That name is gone from my memory. But yeah, he was on the practice squad as a wide receiver. He'd played some quarterback at Wake Forest. He came in and ran, I don't know, the single wing, whatever the hell they ran, T-set. And it didn't go well. So I think we're going to see more of that this year. I mean, it seems to be a little more contagious than last year's version. Would you not agree?
Truth is, I can't really compare contagious and not because some of it involves the fact that at this time last year, we still weren't really sure what we were dealing with.
Right.
So I can't really determine if it's contagious or just people weren't as careful as they should have been in the past, which maybe could have caused some rates to go up, etc. But that is a serious question because you might end up trying to beat early line moves In
Right.
the NFL, which I know all of us try to do if you're a professional handicapper,
That's
you
the only
see an
way you make
opening
money.
total. Yeah. You see an opening total on a Monday or Tuesday, and you slam the over, and next thing you know, I'm not going to try to give Buccaneers fans a heart attack, but let's just say Tom Brady gets COVID. All of a sudden, when you got Blaine Gabbert behind center, you suddenly don't like your over. There's nothing you can do about it. Are books supposed to refund you for no? There's nothing you can do. You just hold the loss.
You don't try to buy out of it. You don't try to pull.
No, you
pull the
can.
ripcord?
You can. I think you just understand the point is that you're going to have some situations where you're going to take a team -5, starting quarterbacks randomly out, or they're missing a bunch of wide receivers. The line goes down to pick them, and then you're trapped.
Yep.
And it's just the way it is.
Yep, that's just the way it is. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I think there's going to be, and then you've got situations with some players that aren't vaxxed yet. I don't know.
I'm factoring into my long-term season handicapping.
What do you mean you're factoring it in?
I'm not taking any overs on player props. I'm taking only unders.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want to touch an over with potential COVID.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Indeed. That's
think about it. If you just have one COVID outbreak from anybody and they're missing a month, you can basically just cash any under that you have.
Yeah, no, that's true. So, we wanted to talk about this NASCAR thing. Maybe we will later in the week. I've only got so much bandwidth on me for COVID, Scott. So
Kyle Busch won some races this year. I can't even roast him.
No, although I don't know. He's weird about the vaccine. They're all like weird about the vaccine. So let's be clear here, guys. There's pretty good evidence that you are still able to spread the virus if you have the vaccine. You have a less of a chance to spread it. You have less of a chance to get it, but it is not foolproof. What it does help immensely with is the severity of your disease if you should get it. So I don't know. And then I'm reading a thing yesterday that said masks are about 10% effective. The cloth masks, not the N95s, but I don't know. I think I wasn't ready for another year of this, and I think that's what we're going to get. So let's talk about some good news, Scott. In direct defiance of your prediction, Miguel Cabrera hit his 500th home run yesterday for the Detroit Tigers.
What, are you going to go back to NASCAR, or we're just going to skip over that?
We're going to skip over it.
Fair enough.
We'll do it later in the week, but yeah.
Cool. I was just wondering because you started, and then I wasn't sure if you meant to pivot.
No, I said no, and then I started, and then I went, yeah, no.
Okay, so, fair enough. Anyway, so Miguel Cabrera.
I'm COVIDed out. Hit his 500th home run yesterday. So, and I told you this question, but you didn't look it up. We did not cheat. Only 8 players have more than 300 home runs. Just eight active players, and just 2 active home runs. Just 2 active players have more than 400. So, first of all, one of them is obviously Pujols. I think what does he have? Six and change.
He's in the 600. So he's
7, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I know he hit another one. I believe it was 2 days ago.
Yeah, he's been very good. Yeah, Pujols has 677. He's 5th all time. So, First of all, have you figured it out? I gave you a chance to think about it. Cabrera is 28th. The next guy on the list is still active. He's 42nd with 443 home runs. He's 40 years old. He's been in the league 17 years. Who is it, Scott?
Nelson Cruz.
Nelson Cruz. That is absolutely correct. Did I give you enough clues to get it?
You said 40 years old, and then that kind of pieced it for me.
Okay. So that leaves us with 5. How many can you name?
Okay. Trout?
Yes.
Stanton?
Yes.
Votto?
Yes.
I think that might be where I top out. I'm trying to think of any others that I could potentially think of.
Okay.
I don't have any others.
All right. Can I interest you in Evan Longoria?
I actually thought about Longoria, but he had so many injuries, I wasn't sure if he actually would have made it or not.
314. He was really healthy early.
Okay.
And probably the one that surprised me more than anything was Justin Upton.
Okay. Upton's always one of those guys who's had a lot of home runs, but you also forget that he's been around for so long.
15 years he's been in the league. Yeah, he's been in the league since he was 18.
Yeah. Longoria was one that I probably could have gotten, but I really thought the injuries just derailed his career to some degree.
If you'd have told me Upton had more than Votto, I would have not believed that.
That's fair too. Votto's been around for a while.
Okay. And you're missing the one that has the most behind Cruz that's still active.
I said I was going to get another one.
Ex-Yankee. Does that help?
Ex-Yankee.
Ex-Yankee.
I know Jay Bruce retired, so he doesn't count.
He does not.
I got no idea. I'm not going to stall. I just don't know.
Well, Sonia Henny's out. Robinson Cano.
Active's a trick kind of question there because isn't he injured or suspended?
Yes, he's currently an active player on the roster.
At no point I would have thought about him because active is a relative term apparently.
Yep. 334, 16 years in the league, 38 years old. So my way of thinking, Scott, any of these guys have a shot at 500. I'll tell you what Trout is. Trout has 310. He's 29 years old.
I think Trout's, of course, got a serious shot, but he's already had a couple injuries over the last couple of years. I don't know if he's going to hold up. You can make the same argument about Stanton. I mean, Stanton has – I don't even know what Stanton's at. Probably mid-300s.
Stanton's 332, 31 years old.
Okay. 31 if you're assuming that he'll play till 38, 39.
Right.
I mean, that's about a little bit less than 30 per, which I think is doable in Yankee Stadium, but can he stay healthy?
That's the thing. He needs 168 more in 6 seasons roughly.
I'll give it to him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get there.
Okay, very good. And we're going to be back right after the break. We're going to delve into the ACC. You ready, Scott?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, let's get ready. We'll be right back after this quick message. All right. Yeah, we were running long there, and I just had enough fucking COVID shit.
Well, the intro went a little bit long.
I know. We rambled.
It was all good. I enjoyed the jokes. The let's go on a hike thing is something that came to me after I made my first answer.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I don't know how people do it, man. I don't know. Walking's fine, but it's like, let's go to a random like park or like random and just go up a hill.
Sure. 3 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the second half of Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour, and we'll give you the winners. And we're getting ready to lay out some winners right now in the ACC. By the way, we are going to be taking a look at the Power 5 conferences this week, one conference per day. We're going to do them in alphabetical order. Scott, that was about the easiest way that you and I could come up with. We show no favoritism, nothing like that. We're just going to go right down the line. Of course, today we start with the ACC, or as we call it, the Clemson division, or the Clemson conference, Scott. So the first question, can anybody beat Clemson?
No. Maybe in one game, but not to win the conference title. I don't see it, especially from teams in this conference. Is it weird that the team that might have had the best chance of beating Clemson is no longer in the conference because they were in it for 1 year?
Notre Dame.
Maybe not this year because Notre Dame, we've already talked about the season, how they're supposed to have a bit of a down year. But we're going to talk about North Carolina and Miami. They both have pretty noticeable flaws. Clemson, you make an argument, has a little bit of a flaw because you have no Lawrence, no ETN, and the defense got a little bit exposed by Ohio State last year. Having said that, are we really picking anyone to beat Clemson? Because they're going to walk into the conference title game since North Carolina and Miami are on the other side.
Yeah.
So even if Clemson loses 2 games in conference play, they're still probably going to make it to the conference title game.
We're going to talk about their win total here in just a minute, but I'm going to lay out the odds first. Clemson is minus 900 to win the ACC for the 7th consecutive year. They are minus 2,000 to win the Atlantic Division. So first of all, there's nobody in the Atlantic Division that can give them a tussle, right?
A lot of people are making an argument that Boston College might go over their win total.
Okay.
But not to beat Clemson. Like, no. They need Clemson basically to have, what do you think, 2.5 months of COVID?
Yeah. It's going to need to wipe out. It's not going to – all the starting quarterbacks are going to need to hit Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. It's going to need to hit everybody that played for Clemson for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just a quick reminder. In that Atlantic Division, Boston College, Wake Forest, Louisville, North Carolina State, Florida State, and Syracuse. Yikes. That is some dogs right there, Scott. So, let's talk about Clemson. All right, so I think we agree they're probably going to win the Atlantic. But their win total, it's 11.5, Scott. 11.5. So,
can you remind me how many regular season games they play?
There's 12.
Okay.
There's 12 regular season games. Now, of course, postseason counts towards that win total, right?
I am actually not sure about that.
It does. It was a rhetorical question.
I was going to say, I don't know if it varies depending on books, but I think some might have in the rules postseason applies or does not apply.
Correct.
Generally, read accordingly to your book.
Yes, generally speaking, though, the postseason will count. So they have 12 games. They start with Georgia. Okay, that's really, and I'm not using hyperbole here. That is really the only competitive game they have on their schedule. They should be a minimum of 2 touchdown favorite over everybody else.
Just for reference, by the way, you mentioned Georgia. The other 2 teams we talked about to potentially be the other 2 best teams are Miami and North Carolina. You know what those 2 teams have in common? They don't have Clemson on the schedule.
Yep. That's absolutely correct. And so Clemson really doesn't even have to play anybody tough from the other division.
You don't just say tough. You can just say anybody. Yeah, I'm just being honest. Do they really have to play anybody?
No, they don't. I mean, if you look at their schedule, we'll go through it here real fast. They start the season with Georgia, then you go South Carolina State. By the way, the look ahead line, South Carolina State. Scott, you want to take a guess at the spread?
49.
About 63.
Ooh. That was not what I was expecting. Ouch.
Georgia Tech, North Carolina State, Boston College, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, Florida State, and Louisville, UConn, and Wake Forest, and then regular old South Carolina.
And the Boston College game is at home, by the way.
Boston College game is at home. The Florida State game is at home. They do have to go to Pittsburgh, which, I mean, when you talk about, that's the toughest game they have, Scott, on their schedule. That's the toughest conference game they have.
We'll disagree there. I think the toughest conference game might be NC State, who I think might be a sleeper team. But the point is Clemson should roll through the entire conference schedule.
Yep. So are you going to touch that over 11.5?
If you get a book with postseason included, you got to take the over. Okay. I mean, that also is going to include the conference title game, which they'll probably roll in.
Okay.
There's really nothing to – you can make an argument they might lose to Georgia, but at the end of the day, even if they lose to Georgia, you still have a decent chance at cashing. But as a whole, I mean, the game's in Carolina, so Clemson has a home field advantage for that Georgia game. I think they're beating Georgia. Do you?
I do right now, yeah. It's certainly going to be the toughest defense they see.
Yeah.
So I just
now, of course, it's going to be in North Carolina, not South Carolina, but still, the point is that it's going to be an easier travel for Clemson's fans.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. And they're not bringing back a ton of starters, only bringing 5 starters back on offense. They are bringing 10 guys back on defense. Does that matter to you?
It matters to me.
They're a reload.
Yeah, it matters on the running back perspective because I think Dixon is average at best. I wasn't exactly thrilled with him in limited, doses last year. Having said that, I'm a huge fan of the quarterback, and when he subbed in for Lawrence last year and had 400-plus yards against Notre Dame, you can tell this guy's legit. I think he's got a serious chance to win the Heisman. The odds reflect that. You have any issues with the quarterback? Because I think he's fantastic.
I'm a little more skeptical just because I want to see
sample size. I get it, but
that's my whole thing. DJ Ugalele.
Yeah, he's very, very good.
Yeah, I agree. He did well against Notre Dame, and it was. I'm curious to see because Notre Dame didn't have a book on him, so it's kind of hard to prepare. But I want to pump the brakes on the Heisman talk. He could be very good. There's a good chance he's very, very good.
Well, the thing is, you look at the Heisman talk, and a lot of the favorites are new faces. I mean, you got Ohio State's quarterback who's brand new. You got Alabama's quarterback who's brand new. It's kind of a new era. It's kind of similar to college basketball in a way where you just see a lot of player of the year guys, and they've all been on campus for 2 months. I mean, it's really crazy how it works. So, yeah, you can make an argument that he's young and inexperienced. So are a lot of the guys at the top of the list.
All right. So that's the easy or the easy division, so to speak. Now, in the other side, this is going to be some fun over there, Scott, because you've got a couple of teams that should be very good. You mentioned North Carolina and Miami. Then you've got perennial favorite Virginia Tech in there. And, of course, you've got Pittsburgh as well, who showed some flashes last year before it's kind of fading down the stretch.
Is Pickett there for the 90th year at quarterback?
Yeah, I believe he is.
Yeah,
yes.
He's been there since the Civil War.
1997, I believe is when he started there. So who do you like? I know North Carolina has Sam Howell, speaking of a guy that seems like he's been there forever. And Miami, to me, are you convinced that D'Eriq King is healthy after blowing out his knee in the last game?
I can't touch Miami. At the end of the day, we saw the defense get exposed by North Carolina at the end of the year before losing the bowl game to Oklahoma State. So the defense already has a couple of flaws. Plus, they lost a lot of talented defensive linemen. Of course, Rousseau opted out last year, but their defensive line is very inexperienced and, to put it gently, raw. So they might have some issues up front early on. But when you have King, who I would say isn't exactly the most consistent passer, but he's a tremendous runner, and he's coming off a torn ACL, how am I supposed to have faith in your offense to stay afloat for an entire season?
Oh, they're bringing in Rambo.
That's huge.
Bringing in Charleston Rambo.
Well, I liked them at Oklahoma, but the point I'm trying to say is if your offense is predicated on King extending plays and showing the wrinkle in the run, I don't know if his knee's going to hold up, so I'm not interested. If I was picking one team on the other side, I'd pick North Carolina. Because even though I do love the Clemson quarterback, I think Howell is probably the best quarterback in the conference. I just think Sam Howell's a tremendous player. And Mac Brown, I know, has a very solid, I'd say, foundation laid for North Carolina since he got there, and now it seems to be working out. The defense for me is the issue, but North Carolina does return 21 of 22 starters. They lost the leading tackler in Chaz Surratt, who was very good as a linebacker. But at the end of the day, if we're talking about two teams with flaws in Miami and North Carolina, I'll take the healthier quarterback that's better when they're overall healthy. And I like the amount of starters that North Carolina returns. So I think you'll see Clemson, North Carolina in the title game.
You'll see Clemson, North Carolina. I think that's a fair bet. It's, they've made some changes on defense. Mainly Manny Diaz has taken over the defensive play calling and everything like that. So
I don't trust the defensive line. I just can't trust it.
You can't get that horror show. Their last game they played against North Carolina, I can't get out of my head, Scott. They gave up 554 yards on the ground to North Carolina in the season finale. That's not a fluke.
That was in Miami, by the way.
Yeah, in Miami. Not good. And North Carolina, a team not exactly known for their powerful ground game.
They had two really good running backs last year
who
are now in the league. But
what I'm saying, though, is the fact they had Sam Howell. They weren't necessarily a run-first team.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not giving 550 yards to Army.
Well, separate point also, Mac Brown a couple years ago almost beat Clemson. They went for 2 and they tried to go for it. What exactly has Manny Diaz done when it comes to quality wins or quality performances? Because Miami's kind of had this reputation since the U Part 2. They just fall apart in almost every big game they have. Do you think Diaz changes that? Because he's shown me nothing besides beating, I don't know, like Notre Dame in like week 2 of a regular season game like 4 years ago.
You're right.
He doesn't show me anything.
They weren't competitive against Clemson. They barely snuck by Virginia last year. You give up 41 to North Carolina State. They squeaked by Virginia Tech. So
and that's just last year. Like their biggest wins in conference the last couple of years are what? Beating Florida State, who's been a punching bag?
Yeah, pretty much. Florida State hasn't been good, well, really since Jimbo Fisher left, right?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. So
I think, I just can't trust Manny Diaz
in that division at all. You see anybody that could step up and challenge? I mean, what do you think of Louisville, by the way?
I think Louisville is a team that underachieved last year. Of course, they lost their best receiver in Atwell, who went to the pros. I think the team as a whole is okay offensively. Do you like the quarterback situation? Because I think that their quarterbacks are fine for college, but they're not really accurate enough for me with the ball.
Right.
So I'm not really interested. You?
I'm I'm kind of a Cunningham fan. I think one of the curious thing is they're bringing in Shai Werts. You remember Shai Werts?
Of course,
Quarterback at
Georgia Southern. He
Yeah,
couldn't throw at all.
Yeah, you know what he's going to play?
Is he playing quarterback?
No, he's not. He's going to be a receiver.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
I thought you were giving me a trick question where quarterback was so obvious that was actually going to be the right answer.
Right.
Yeah.
You thought I was trying to give you the old okey doke there.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No, Shai Werts is coming in from Georgia Southern to play receiver. I guess he's figured out that's pretty much his path to the NFL if one exists.
Didn't he get injured like all the time in Georgia Southern?
It seemed that way, but they ran him all the time.
But I'm saying, are we sure that he can actually handle running routes and getting tackled going over the middle?
He'll probably get hit less than he was hit at Georgia Southern.
That's fair, but I'm not going to decide whether or not Louisville's a sleeper because they brought in a converted quarterback to play wide receiver.
Well, 6.5 is their win total.
I'm not a Cunningham guy. He's just not accurate enough for me with the ball.
Okay. Well,
do you like the defense for Louisville? Because I don't think that's really a strength either. It's okay.
They have their moments. They're really inconsistent. They gave up. This is a team that gave up 46 points to Virginia Tech last year.
They got buried by Georgia Tech.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They lose by 19 to Georgia Tech. You can't give up 46 points to Georgia Tech, Scott. Come on.
I just remember this team couldn't play on the road last year.
No, they were absolutely dreadful. Yeah, losing to Boston College, Virginia. Notre Dame was probably the best game they played all season, and they lose 12-7.
Yeah.
And lose at Pittsburgh, at Georgia Tech. Yeah, just a terrible road team. Ofer on the road last year. So we'll see. I think that could be set. That's 6.5. I think that could be a little high for Louisville.
I think they'll go 6-6.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think under 6.5 is the play there. Quick reminder, you guys, we are Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour, and we'll give you the winners. We're laying out our ACC plans right there. You down with ACC? Yeah, you know me. Give me a sleeper, Scott. Any sleepers coming in? Obviously, we're not going to get a sleeper out of the Atlantic Division. So, we talked about Miami and North Carolina. Is there any hope, any long shots here you like?
Not particularly, unless you count North Carolina at 10-1 as a sleeper.
Okay, for the conference, you're saying, right?
Yeah, but as a whole, if you want to talk about a team, it's going to transition to my favorite win total for the conference, which I guess is technically a sleeper. I actually like this North Carolina State team.
Okay.
I think this team's good. Now, I know that you can talk about last year and how the team went 8-4. They were solid. Yeah, I think Leary's a good quarterback. I know he had some COVID issues or injury issues last year. However, the skill position guys all return, so it's the same weapons. And I think you'd agree with me that Leary, when he plays, it tends to be very good. They also got back their leading tackler from last year in Peyton Wilson. He's had injury issues, but he's still very good. 9 defensive starters return. And you look at the schedule, they play UCF, Furman, Louisiana Tech, and Syracuse all at home. Then they play at Florida State and at Mississippi State. Now, I think they can beat Mississippi State. I think they're the better team than Mississippi State. I don't know if you agree with me on that one. But even if you think they lose to Mississippi State, I just mentioned 5 wins because I think they'll win at Florida State. Their win total 6.5 at even money on the over. I think this team could win 8. I think they could win 8 games. I think this team's good.
Okay.
You?
I don't hate that. I don't hate that. My favorite play as far as win total is going to be a Syracuse
under.
Yeah.
They're
under 3. They are really bad. They're coming off a 1-2 season. Dino Babers going the wrong direction as far as the coach. There's a guy that I think has got to be on the hot seat, right?
I got to assume so, but then you look at the talent on Syracuse's team. Part of it's because of bad recruiting, but they got nothing over there.
No, they're awful. They were outgained by almost 200 yards per game last year. They couldn't score less than 18 points per game. Couldn't move the ball 265 per game. That allowed, this is just brutal, 88 sacks over the last 2 seasons. Just absolutely brutal. So this is how their schedule lays out for the Syracuse Orange. Their non-con, not terrible. There could be a winnable game or 2 there as they start off with Alabama. That could be trouble. Or sorry, I was still on Miami. My bad. We need the Jeopardy music. So they start off with Ohio. Okay. That's a winnable game. Ohio is usually a pretty fair program there in the MAC. And then they've got Rutgers. They've got a victory at Albany, FCS team, and then they take on Liberty at home.
Liberty.
Thank you.
Yep.
So of those 4 games, Ohio, Rutgers, Albany, and Liberty, you're going to have to get 3 wins, Scott, because I don't see them winning a conference game.
I wouldn't see them winning a conference game either.
Yeah, I think they lose to Liberty. I think there's a good chance they lose to Ohio. And honestly, that's one of those. If you're playing the over and if you're playing the team total there, if they get beat by Ohio in the first week, you're golden. You're locked because
I think Rutgers could beat them.
I think Rutgers is absolutely a possibility. No question at all. That's going to be 2 very similar programs, and Rutgers actually showed a little bit of improvement last year. So
see, the thing is, when you're looking at win totals, you got to remember that it's important to beat up on the bottom feeders. The problem with the low win total teams, you are the bottom feeder, so you have no teams to beat up on in conference play.
You're the mark. Absolutely correct. So that's going to be it. So you and I, we agree. I think we're a little different on the coastal winner. We both like Clemson. Of course, you can't get away from that.
I got Clemson, North Carolina. I don't know if you're going to try to back King with Miami. Until Manny Diaz wins big games, I can't do it.
That defense. It's so tempting because that defense was so good 2 years ago, Scott, and then they just absolutely fell apart.
But they lost all their best pass rushers from last year.
Yeah, I know. Good teams reload though, and they don't have to. They don't have to restart every time.
We know Miami at some point in the Manny Diaz tenure every year is going to lose a random game to like Virginia or somebody, and nobody knows why.
I want to be different. I want to give us some controversy. I just don't want to take the same exact picks, but I can't get away from that horrible Miami defense. I think De'Aaron King could be good. I think they could have some weapons on offense. I think they're going to be an over machine. If you want to know how I'm going to play Miami, I'm going to play the over. That's how I'm going to play them. But I've got to take North Carolina as well.
Yeah, and as for your win total, I like Syracuse under as well. I don't know what you think of North Carolina State, but I do think that team is sneaky good.
They jumped up and bit some people last year.
Yeah,
that was a team that put up some surprising games, and it's going to be interesting to see because we're basing a lot on last year, and last year was very weird with the COVID, with no crowds and things like that.
Well, that's why I'm also factoring in because NC State barely had their starting quarterback last year, and they still won 8 games.
Right. Yeah. They were very good. So we'll see what happens there. All right. So we got a very limited baseball card, and we've got a very limited time with which to talk about it. So give me a couple of your highlights, Scott.
I'm going to hold my nose and look at the over between the Diamondbacks and the Pirates because both pitchers are awful, and DraftKings is a total of 8.5.
Yeah,
sure, I'll take the over.
Bahia and Will Crow goes in that one. It'd be tough to pick a side. I got to be honest with you. I'd probably take Pittsburgh just because Arizona's on the road, and you know how horrible they are there.
Yep.
I think there could be a little value on the Royals. Daniel Lynch going against Greinke. I think they've got the Astros priced a little bit too high. Remember, the Royals just won 3 out of 4 from the Astros in Kansas City. 240 is what the Astros are laying. You're going to catch the Royals around plus 200. I think that's worth a little pizza money.
I think it should be closer to 200 flat.
Yeah, I think 200, 165 or so would be more in the ballpark of where that is as well. So, all right, Scott. Well, let's get her going here, man. We've made it through the entire hour. We need more time, buddy. We need that second hour someday, my friend. We are expanding our network as we speak, so we'll see what happens. But let's get to it. Let's talk about the one play that we have left, my friend. You and I have put our heads together, and we have come up with our favorite play of the day. You said limited baseball card, but that's not all there is, Scott. Let's get ready to climb on that tractor, put your little chin strap around your straw hat, and fire up your corn cob pipe, Scott, because once again, it is time for our first of the week, Bet the Farm. All right, buddy. Well, we had a NFL preseason pick on Friday night with those Kansas City Chiefs. How'd the boys in red do?
We had the Chiefs -3, and they won by more than 3.
That's a beautiful thing. Get on there and go collect your farm, kids. That's right. That is another farm winner. And we're going to stick in the NFL, Scott. We're going to beat that horse until it's dead. We're going to take a look at the New Orleans Saints and going up against Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Saints -4. We like that play quite a bit. You know, the Saints, they played almost as badly as they could and still managed to come this close to beating Baltimore. They turned the ball over 6 times, 10 penalties, still came within 3, right?
They lost by 3 to John Harbaugh, who's been undefeated in the postseason. I mean, in the preseason for, I don't even know, the last 6 years.
October of 2016.
Yeah, long time.
Obama was president the last time they lost the preseason game.
Yep.
Jaguars, meanwhile, they got absolutely curb stomped at home by the Browns. Trevor Lawrence looked like a rookie playing his first game. They allowed 319 passing yards to a Cleveland team without Baker Mayfield. And this is what it comes down to, Scott. You've got a quarterback battle on each side. You've got famous Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill going up against Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew. That when I've got to like Winston and Hill there, right?
I think you have to. I know Lawrence could be good, but he's only played 1 game. Plus, it was a home game, and he's now going to the Superdome. He might struggle a little bit with the crowd noise.
There you go. And it's going to be a huge home field advantage just because it is in the Superdome. It is the preseason, but it's going to be the first time they've had fans in the Superdome in almost 2 years. Who Dat Nation going to be fired up, Scott? We're going to bet the farm with the New Orleans Saints -4 points. And that will do it for today's shows. We appreciate you guys stopping by and checking us out. Don't forget to tell your friends. And if you ever missed the show on a radio format, don't forget we are available on all your favorite podcast platforms. So check us out there as well. Check out our videos on YouTube. You know the drill. For myself, for Scott Reichel, for the whole team over here at Winners and Winers Radio, we appreciate you listening. Appreciate you watching. Whatever you're doing to consume our media, we appreciate the effort. We appreciate you being part of the team. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow on Winners and Winers Radio. Take care, everybody.